Dallas sucks week is in full effect. It's Thursday now. We're really pushing forward here this week. And today on Trending in the AM, I'm going to explain why this week's game is so much more important than people realize. Borderline must win. Can't use that phrase. I would be Somebody stole that from me this week already. Trending in the AM, we're coming at you in full force today with your thoughts and opinions. We're live in 30 seconds.
Fourth and goal.
And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live, Facebook, YouTube. You know the drill. Smash those like, share, subscribe buttons. It is free to do it. It does not cost you a penny to support this morning show as we continue to take off and dominate the morning airwaves here. Number one sports show. I may be a little biased, but it is the number one sports show in Philadelphia, in my opinion, because it's the only show, like I say, where your opinions actually matter. I am your host, Phil Stiefel. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Beard of Knowledge, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever. Find me there. Shoot me a follow. I'd greatly appreciate it. Love to interact with you there. And we got lots to talk about today. It's finally time to dive deep into the conversation of how important Sunday's game is for the Eagles against the Cowboys. Tomorrow we'll get into the X's and O's of why the Eagles will beat Dallas on Sunday. And I did say why they will, because they will, I hope. But it is a must-win situation. So we are going to dive into that a little bit. There's other topics on the table as well. If you want to continue the James Harden, Daryl Morey Sixers conversation, I think most are ready to move on from that. I will say Daryl Morey handled the situation yesterday really well. And also, let's give a shout out to the Texas Rangers for winning the World Series last night. And we might touch on that topic a touch here and there because I saw something this morning on Twitter from my man John Kincaid. He's a morning show host for one of the radio stations, and he put it out there, and it really spoke to me how Phillies fans are saying, well, if we would have made it to the World Series, we would have beat the Rangers. Well, you didn't make it to the World Series, so you can't say that. So lots to get into today as we talk. Peanut checking in a coffee, a donut, and a bearded guy through this week's battle. Dallas sucks, Peanut. Dallas sucks. Plain and simple. And if you can't get fired up, I don't care if the Eagles are 1-15. When it's Dallas week, it's get fired up week. It's boast your chest and talk trash and whatnot. There's no way around it. Like, I know Washington says that we're the bigger rival, in the division with the Eagles and whatnot. And Washington and the Giants might be a bigger actual, technically on paper, division rival because they're closer in proximity. But as Eagles fans, if you don't hate the Dallas Cowboys more than any other team, you don't have green running through your blood. You just don't. Dallas week sucks, and we have so many, especially this older crowd. We have so many bad memories because the Cowboys were at one point. It's been a long time, but that's why I said older crowd. There was a time when Dallas just dominated us nonstop. And honestly, Dallas has been dominating us in recent memory as well. We might have the Super Bowl appearances, the playoff appearances, the Super Bowl wins in this 21st century. But on paper in the regular season, Dallas has been dominating. Somewhere in my notes here, let's see. I forgot my notebook yesterday, so I wrote notes down on a piece of scratch paper. Let me see if I can read all the notes I have written down here. Since 2020, we've beaten Dallas once. I don't know if that's accurate. I read that in an article yesterday. Since 2015, we've got 6 wins against Dallas. That's pretty bad. We've got the Super Bowl, we've got the championship games, we've got all that. But in the regular season, Dallas has dominated Philadelphia for a few years. And I'm going to say it right now. I was going to title today's show, This Game is Must Win, but then our boss man Liam titled his show last night that, and he also flicked me off. We'll get into that in a little bit later. So I had to switch it up, and I said it's so important to win this week against Dallas. And there are so many different levels to why it's important. Dallas is still a very viable, good football team. We act like Dallas has been bad this year. They really have not been bad. They've actually been really, really good. And we only got a game and a half lead on them in the division. That's even if we lose, we technically will still have a lead on them in the division because we'll have the one game in hand. But first reason why it's so important, you just want to keep Dallas in your rearview mirror. You don't want to give a very good team like Dallas any momentum moving forward. You don't want to give Dallas look, Dallas fans think they're the greatest all the time. It's always the way it's going to be. They always boast their chest no matter what. But they are a really good team, and you do not want to give them any confidence. They're going into a very easy part of their schedule after us this week. We are going into one of the most difficult stretches of schedules I've seen in the last 10 years for the Eagles. So we're going to lose some games here. We're not going to go undefeated the rest of the season. Getting that extra game cushion in the division as we enter this stretch is a massive, massive thing that people don't understand. Dallas has been a better team than the Niners the last 3 weeks. That is absolutely accurate. And I think people, because of the Cardinals, and me included, I've crushed the Cowboys all year long, for losing that Cardinals game. But outside of that Cardinals game, they've been a really damn good team, Marshawn. And they're sneaky good in different directions. I got like league stats up here. Offensively speaking, they haven't been a juggernaut, but defensively speaking, they're the third best defensive team in the NFL. Yards per game, based off of yards per game. So Dallas is a really, really good team, and you don't want to give them any confidence going into the next 3, 4, 5 weeks, knowing that they beat Philly at home, primetime game. I call the 425 primetime because 425 is the game of the week, in my opinion. I think the 425 game of the week is the most important football game of the. I know Sunday Night Football gets the credit for the most important game, but I say the 425 game is the most important. Um, you don't want to be embarrassed at home. You give them all the momentum going forward, and then you're going to have all the Dallas Cowboys fans talking about how they are so much better than the Philadelphia Eagles. So you do not want to lose this game first and foremost for that reason. You have to continue to you got to keep their momentum and their confidence, Dallas, at bay as much as you can, as long as you can. A win on Sunday can possibly sink the Cowboys' mentality. Dak isn't built to withstand adversity. Yeah, what's funny is we how many times Dak's only played the Eagles like a handful of times in his career because of a lot of different reasons. So it's really weird. Um, you, I don't know if a loss Sunday, depending on how it comes out, would sink Dallas's mentality, but it would not give them any positive mentality moving forward. It might not put them negative because they're just losing to the NFC champions at home, in the NFC champions home. You know what I mean? That's the Eagles are favored for a reason, but winning would boost them up so much that it would almost give them added momentum going forward. So I think I'm thinking of it on the opposite direction as you right there, Peanut. Go Birds! Feeling good about this game. Nick is saying. Nick, I feel good. I'm cautiously optimistic as I slowly start to dive into the numbers. I do worry that this is going to be a very, very tough game, and the Eagles have skated by some really mediocre teams because of mistakes. You can't play mistake football on Sunday and expect to beat Dallas. And Dallas is one of those teams. They've got quite a few defensive touchdowns this year. They capitalize on other teams' mistakes. So while I'm feeling good about it, it's Sunday. It's at the link. It's cold. I got my Christmas coffee mug out already. I looked out the window this morning. There was frost on my car, frost on my deck. It's wintertime already. Um, I'm feeling good about it, but I'm also very cautious about it because I don't want to be too overconfident going into the game because I don't think the Eagles should be that overconfident. I don't know what to make of our defense. I believe we are eighth ranked overall defense, but we have way too many holes. All right, well, I've got the information up here. Defense, Eagles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are the eighth ranked defense overall yards. But the problem is yards per game on passing versus rushing. We are in the bottom. I think we're like, I can't count that far, like 26th, 27th in pass defense. But in run defense, we are number one. Big difference here. Points per game, we are three, four, five. We're like middle of the pack points per game. Closer to bottom of the pack than middle of the pack points per game. So I don't know what to make of our defense either. We are a great run defense, and we're a weak pass offense. We do not create a lot of turnovers either this year, or a lot of sacks. I mean, last year it was all about the sacks. We created turnovers off those sacks. We didn't commit turnovers. This year, our defense just isn't creating those extra opportunities for our offense, whether by an interception or a sack on third down that forces a punt or whatnot. It's not doing it. I think we've been extremely, extremely over the top positive on our defense this year. And I'm not sure why. We've given Sean Desai the benefit of the doubt a lot this year, opposed to Brian Johnson, who we have one of the top offenses in the league. But yet Brian Johnson gets zero. We're the third best offense in football, yards per game. Let's just realize that. We're also the third best team offensively, points per game. Rushing yards per game, we're still in the top 10. We are one of the best offenses in the game, but yet we criticize Brian Johnson immensely. The defense, though, is middle of the pack in a lot of statistics or below middle of the pack, yet we praise Brian or Sean Desai for being this great defensive coordinator. So, it's really hard to figure out what to make of our defense. Travis saying, Dak says, poor honey on me comments. So we'll see a lot of D-line honey on him Sunday. Yeah, I don't know why anybody on either side, I think Jerry Jones said it a couple days ago. He doesn't want to poke the bear. I don't know why anybody on either side would want to poke the bear in an Eagles-Dallas rivalry in any shape, form. I'm even trying to ignore the Dallas Cowboys fans on social media and not poke the bear there either. Because it's just, I know it's a deep rival, but this team, the Eagles and the Cowboys, they don't need bulletin board material. We all believe the Eagles are the favorite to get to the Super Bowl again out of the NFC. But it wouldn't shock me if the Cowboys did, because they are a really good team. And outside of the Eagles, the Cowboys, the 49ers, the Lions, the rest of the NFC, if the Eagles were to fall, it's wide open. So Dallas has got to love their chance. And this is why it's so must win. You do not want to give the Dallas Cowboys any momentum going into the middle guts of the season when we're facing massive adversity and they're facing easy opponents. You don't want to. Other than 2 games this year, we have kept opponents to around 18 points. Yeah, okay. You got to pick and choose when they've done well, when they haven't. I get that, but let me see here. Let me look at this. Gave up 20 points to the Patriots. Terrible offense. Gave up 28 to a Vikings team, which they're a good offense, but it is what it is. The Buccaneers we held to 11. The Commanders got 31 both times we faced them. The Rams 14. The Jets 20. The Dolphins 17. I think the Dolphins 17-point game is really the crux on why I think we give this Eagles defense so much credit. But giving up 31 points twice to the Washington Commanders, not ideal. Not ideal giving up 20 even to the Patriots and Mac Jones. But the defense, statistically speaking, isn't as great as we think it is, but yet they're getting all the praise. It's the offense that's not getting enough praise, maybe. Our sack production picked up late last year. Turnover differential has to be in the negative. We are in the negative in the turnover differential. I've got to, let me switch from offense to defense here. Turnovers, plus minus. We are at a -3 right now. Other teams at -3, well, there's no one else. In the -4 category, you got the Bears, which is funny. The Chiefs and the Dolphins have worse turnover differentials. This is why I don't understand this year in the NFL. We're this terrible team. We're turning over the ball more than we're creating turnovers. Yet the Chiefs and Dolphins have done even worse than us in it. Now, I'm not surprised the Raiders are the worst team turnover differential at -8, but it's kind of crazy that the turnover differential, we've been criticizing it so much, yet 3 of the worst teams in turnover differential are 3 teams that are favored to make the Super Bowl this year. Make that make sense, Marshawn. Because we always say key to victory, time of possession, win the turnover battle. Yet 3 of the teams that have the most wins in football have some of the worst turnover, differential in the league. That's hard to imagine. Can you imagine if we can get that red zone and turnover issues dealt with? Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how we get the red zone thing, obviously based off of what I just said about the turnover differential not leading to as many losses as people realize. Um, the red zone thing to me is such a critical thing. Holding your opponents to field goals and you getting touchdowns. It's like such an underrated thing there to talk about. And falling short in the red zone is just not good enough. Whether it's turnovers or bad play calling, just can't do it. And I'm hoping Brian Johnson continues to evolve as a play caller. I'm hoping something happens where they realize that Kenneth Gainwell is not the answer. I hope they realize they got 3 massive sized targets in the red zone that they could throw the ball to, and DeAndre Swift. Maybe even Rashad Penny at some point. I would like to see some changes in the play calling there. I have a feeling Byard and the secondary will get it together sooner rather than later. Travis, I hope so. But this is reason too on why I think this is a must-win game. The next 4 opponents of the Eagles, the Cowboys Sunday, then we got the bye week, then we got the Chiefs at home or in Kansas City, then home Bills and 49ers are combined 21-8. Those next 4 games, hell, you can group the next 2 games after that, Dallas and Seattle on the road. Those next 6 games. I put it out on Twitter yesterday. If we go 3-3 in the next 6 games, that's kind of good. That puts us at 10-4. But if one of those wins is against Dallas, we still have that separation in the division. It's going to be very hard for the Eagles to go 4-2 in this stretch. I think they can. I hope they will. But expecting this team to put it together against this juggernaut of a stretch of a schedule. Let me say it again. Cowboys this week at home, then in Kansas City after the bye, then home Buffalo and San Francisco, then on the road in Dallas and Seattle. That is an intensely scary schedule. Now, yes, we got the bye after this week and whatnot, but this defense is going to have to put it together because you can't go 2-4 in this stretch and think you're going to win the division. And that's the goal. I mean, getting the number 1 seed is the goal, but the first goal should always be to win your division. And that's why beating the Cowboys at home to start this stretch off is so critical because are we going to beat the Chiefs? Maybe, maybe not. The Bills at home, the Bills are trending downward. The 49ers are trending downward. So maybe we get those 2. Maybe we get the 3 wins at home. We lose to the Chiefs and Cowboys on the road. Then the Seattle game's the coin toss on whether we're 3-3 or 4-2 in this stretch. So it is imperative to start this 6-game stretch off on fire with a win against Dallas and getting Byard and getting the secondary. Look, Braden Robbie did not practice at all yesterday. So we're still going to be working with Eli Ricks in the slot and other guys in the slot there on Sunday. CeeDee Lamb lines up in the slot a lot. Good morning, NFL Reality Check. How you doing? Defense is getting all the praise because of what we had last year in Gannon. We are seeing adjustments in game, and we see actual defensive coordinator taking responsibility. That's a fair statement. No matter how many points we've given up, we're giving up very few in the second half of football game because the defense is making major adjustments as the game goes on. I love this statement, Marshawn. We're the worst 7-1 team. Exactly. We are the worst 7-1 team. We're also the only 7-1 team, but we are the worst 7-1 team. I love that comment. Pretty damn hilarious. I think I'm supposed to be able to bookmark thing. I bookmarked it. There we go. We'll see. It's something new that popped up. I can bookmark spots so I don't forget about them, so I can go back to it later. If it's a must win, it's a must win for Dallas. It is a must win for Dallas as well, because for the same reason I say you want to keep that division cushion against Dallas, Dallas wants to close the gap in the division. So it's a must win for both teams. That's what makes this game so important and so intense going into it. After losing to the Niners, all that is known in Dallas can only beat okay teams. They need to win not just for their mental, but to prove they can win elite games. And I think you're fair on this comment, the complete comment, Reality Check, because, let's think about it. We don't know. If we objectively look at the NFL, we know what the Eagles are. They're the defending champions and the only 7-1 team. Dallas has wins, but they've got losses. You say the loss to 49ers. I bring up the loss to the Cardinals far too often. So, you know, they got to prove to the league and to the fans of the league and their own fans and to themselves that they're a really good team. So winning this game is so important for the confidence that you don't want to give Dallas. You don't want to give Dallas any thought that they can contend with the Eagles, which is the elite of the elite in the NFL. You don't want to give them that confidence at all. Yeah, I got you on games. We beat Miami, who was the number one team at the time. I'm not worried about KC. They're tough, but they're a former shell of themselves. We'll be fine. The Eagles have shown me they can win close games. They can win close games. And yes, the Chiefs, the 49ers, the Bills have all kind of had a little hiccup in the road this year. But let's not take anything away from the Chiefs. The Chiefs are still the Chiefs. They're the defending Super Bowl champions. They still got the greatest quarterback on the planet and the greatest receiving threat on the planet, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Now they're distracted with all the Taylor Swift stuff, but you know what? They're still a damn good football team, coached by one of the greatest coaches of all time. So I'm not taking anything away from them, and I think a former shell of themselves is a bit of a stretch. They're what 6-2, 5-2, whatever. They've only lost 2 games. So let's go Eagles from a guy or a girl, I'm not sure, that their name is Philadelphia Eagles and L.A. Lakers. How do you become an Eagles fan and a Lakers fan? That kind of feels a little crisscross there. It should be Eagles and Sixers, just to say. No, I'm not taking anything away, but the chances have gotten better. Okay, all right, I got you. That's all. I just want to make sure we're not taking anything away from what these teams are. But it doesn't. What those teams are like. This is the thing. We're looking ahead. We're talking about this Chiefs game. We're talking about this Bills or Niners game. We can't be. We need to be staying laser focused on this week and this game against Dallas because it's important for those other games. And I'm sure the Eagles aren't looking ahead. They might have looked ahead of the Jets for the Dolphins, but with the bye week next week, the Eagles aren't looking ahead to anything. They're focused on one game and one game only this week against Dallas. And it's so imperative that we come out and get that win this week. If Dak gets rid of the ball as quick as Hal did, then it's going to be a long game. Yeah. So the thing is, I haven't really dove deep, and we'll dive into the X's and O's more tomorrow, Peanut. But is it as simple as stopping CD Lamb gets the job done? And that to me, that might be it. Now, I don't know the injury report for Dallas right now and who's playing and who's not at this point, but I don't think Dallas is as much of a quick pass offense as some of the teams we've like Sam Howell's the Sam Howell quick pass game. That's not ideal in today's NFL in general. It's not what most teams do. That's what teams with young quarterbacks that don't have experience that they're trying to get them comfortable do. Now they did give a blueprint on how to play the Eagles, but that blueprint of quick passing didn't beat the Eagles. So I don't know if it's necessarily a blueprint to beat the Eagles on how to do it because no one's done it. Well, the Jets did it sort of successfully. Yeah, when I say former shell themselves, I mean their wide receivers. Yeah, yeah, their wide receivers are a former shell themselves, obviously. But when you got Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball, I could go out there and probably catch a few balls from Patrick Mahomes. Probably, I doubt it actually. Probably couldn't catch anything in pads. I only brought up KC because she did. Look, I'm bringing up KC and Buffalo and San Francisco and Seattle only because I think it reiterates how important this Sunday's game is. And it's also important just on the basic rival between Philadelphia and Dallas. I mean, Dallas has had our number a lot. Have I checked out? Not late. Somebody told me to check it out a few weeks ago, and I did. Um, Jason Avant's fantastic. Quentin Michael is great as well. I haven't checked. I don't check it out every single week, but I have caught some of them. What have they been saying this week? Have they been saying anything interesting? Two former Eagles doing a podcast during Dallas week has got to be pretty damn ideal and pretty awesome. Um, but yeah, I mean, like it's not just important for this season; it's important just for the overall rivalry. Think about it. We've got 6 wins since 2015 against Dallas. We've only got 1 win since 2020 against Dallas. Kinda gotta buck that trend this week. We gotta figure it out. For as good as this team's been lately, they have not been good against Dallas. And it's really, really important that we kinda get on the win streak here. Um, Dallas is on a 2-game winning streak. You wanna end that winning streak at Dallas. You wanna end that momentum right now. You don't I feel the momentum Dallas could get from beating the Eagles. Hold on. Let me switch from the Eagles, homepage to the Cowboys for a second here. 'Cause I know I read somewhere that their schedule gets super, super easy. Yeah, after us, then they're home against the Giants, who stink. Then they go to Carolina, who stinks. Then they go to Washington, the 23rd. I mean, no offense to Washington. It's a Thanksgiving game in Dallas, and Washington might not have a coach by then. Then they got Seattle. But their next 3 games, if they win this week, they are what are they? They're 1, 2, 3. They're 5-2 because they've already had their bye week. Okay, they beat us. That's 6-2. Then they're going to win their next 3 after that. That puts them at 9-2. Are we going to be 9-2 after losing to Dallas in that same stretch? Probably not. Then they go to then they have Seattle Eagles. They have they've already gone through part of their tough schedule. They've already played the Niners, Chargers, you know, some of those teams, the Jets. They've got the Bills, Seahawks, and Dolphins still on their schedule, and the Lions too. Their juggernaut schedule starts after our second matchup. They got at Buffalo, at Miami, then home against Detroit. Detroit will be fighting for a playoff spot or their division crown or seeding in the playoffs. Um, they you don't want to give them any momentum because you know they're going to win their next 3 games. This game is going to be awesome. Never before has Hurts and Dak been on the same field, which is crazy. All the questions will be answered soon. Yes, Dak is 8-1 against the Eagles, but he hasn't played a Hurts team yet. And they're all fair stats, and I've got some of those stats written down here on my sheet that I cannot read because it is too tinily written. Um, I just don't want to give the team any confidence. And I feel like that, so I put this question, is it must win in the Philadelphia Sports Network group chat. And make sure you check out the Philadelphia, not just liking and subscribing because of this morning show. There's great content on the Philadelphia Sports Network's YouTube page between Liam's afternoon show, basketball shows that Zach Chavalello does, flipping the birds on Tuesday nights. Great content on the channel always. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button and checking out the website, phillysportsnetwork.com, for all the writers. We've added 5 new writers this week, some great content going up on a daily basis. Um, I put it in the thing, and no one agreed with me that it was must win outside of Liam. Everyone else said it's more of a statement game for the Eagles. Is it really a statement game for the Eagles? Is it more of a statement game than a must win? And I'll get into that in a second. Dallas has a hard stretch at the end of the season. Yeah, I was going over that. And yes, but you don't want to give them the momentum right now. You don't. Now, you can argue that let them have the momentum and then lose the momentum at the end of the season. Edge of Philly, and I love Edge of Philly Sports too. If you guys aren't following Edge of Philly Sports, you're missing out on some great content there as well. Great channel with a lot of shows on their YouTube page there. Um, you could say you want them to have the momentum and lose it at the end of the season, but I'd rather them not have momentum now and then lose those games at the end of the season too. That would be even more ideal, honestly. You just don't want to give them momentum. And I disagree with the point made by Mike Greger and Brian Cameron in the PSN group chat that it's a statement game. We've made plenty of statements this year already. We made statements as a team last year getting to the Super Bowl. We know this is a damn good football team. So a statement game is a team that has something to prove. The Eagles have proven they're a great football team. They got to the Super Bowl last year. They're 7-1 right now. Yes, they've got a tough stretch. They can make a statement by going 4-2 in the next 6 games. But if they to go 4-2 in the next 6 games, you've got to win this first part of the stretch against Dallas at home. You cannot lose to Dallas at home and think positively of yourself. Teresa on Facebook, let's go Eagles, baby. Let's make it 8-1. Love it. Hit that like and follow button on Facebook. Turn those notifications on every morning here talking Eagles, sometimes Sixers, sometimes Phillies, a little bit of everything. Hell, even the Flyers on a random occasion, and even Union occasionally. I meant to hit up my man Parcero to get him on to talk Union today or this week, and I kept forgetting. Keep on climbing. I love it. I keep on climbing is right. Um, for sure. I had another direction to go with that there, but I kind of totally forget where my mindset was because I just got all the positivity of Teresa there with the "Let's Go Eagles." I lost my train of thought. I had another angle to attack there, um, but the statement game versus the must win game. Um, I don't think a statement is necessary. The statement has already been made. Beating Miami was the statement game to me. Beating the Cowboys would be a must win. Beating the Chiefs in Kansas City, that's a must win, but also a statement game. Beating the 49ers again to prove that last year was no fluke, that's a statement game because all the 49ers fans will say that was a fluke. That's a statement game. Beating the Dallas Cowboys at home in a division that's neck and neck, that's must win. There's a difference there. Yeah, it's a must win for us fans and our bragging rights, but winning or losing this game isn't keeping us from the Super Bowl, and Dallas doesn't want us to lose because they would be opening Pandora's box. And let me think about how to properly respond to this because I get what you're saying here. It's more must win for us fans than the players. I disagree. I think it's must win for the rankings of this team because the number one seed is obviously the most important thing. Yes, but you can't get the number one seed without winning your division first. And you need to win the division. The way you win that division is by putting separation and distance between you and the second place team. The Dallas Cowboys are the second place team in the division. You know they're going to probably get 3 more wins after this week in a row. And talk about momentum and as Edge of Philly and I said that the tough stretch of the schedule later on for the Cowboys. They're on a 2-game winning streak right now, the Cowboys. They win this week, that's a 3-game winning streak. And then they've got 3 super easy games after that. Now all of a sudden you're talking about Dallas Cowboys on a 6-game winning streak. You don't want Dallas on a 6-game winning streak. First off, you don't want their fans having a 6-game winning streak and how they'll crawl out of the woodwork. But you also don't want to give any NFL team a 6-game winning streak. What are they, 5-2? That would be 4 more. That would put them at 9-2. And realistically speaking, in that stretch, we're 7-1, 7-2. Say we'd be 8-3 at best in that same stretch at the end of it, which means they would overtake the division. And it's a lot easier to hold a division lead coming down the stretch than it is to overtake an opponent in the division. So if you want those home playoff football games, this week has to be won. So it's not just for the fans' bragging rights and boasting our chest over Cowboys fans. It's just as much about keeping the distance in the division that makes it so important, in my opinion. It's okay to disagree. Hey, that's what we do. That's why I say this show, your opinions matter. We just have fair discussions. What makes football great in Dallas is known to lose easy games. They're not going on a 3-game win streak. You're making Dallas fans more confident right now. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep it realistic. Yes, Dallas has lost. I mean, your statement's proven accurate with how they lost to the Arizona Cardinals without for K1 who's not comment today. I don't know. I'm talking all Eagles and K1's not here. Without a shadow of a doubt, they lose easy games. But they're still the Dallas Cowboys. I do give Dallas more credit than most Eagles fans. They are a good football team. In my opinion, they got a terrible coach and GM. I'm not a Mike McCarthy fan. I think Jerry Jones will hold that team back for as long as he's in charge of that team, which is fine by me. On a side note, this totally came out of nowhere. I'll get back to that in a second. Eagles Dallas week has become a mini holiday. If the Birds win, it will boast moral. It's also so important going into the bye week. I'll get back to. I want to say something about Washington in a second, but we'll get back to that in a second. It's also important for the confidence and the mojo. You don't want to lose your mojo like Austin Powers and in Austin Powers too. You don't want to lose it. Going into the bye week, beating Dallas for the confidence of a team that still we Eagles fans have a lot of faith in, but a lot of people around the NFL don't have faith in. They call us gimmicky. They call us We have a running back for a quarterback, our defense, whatever the people nationally say. It is so important going into the bye week confidence-wise with a win versus a loss, especially when out of the bye you've got Kansas City on the road, Buffalo, San Francisco, et cetera, et cetera. Going into the bye week with a win is massive. It really I don't think I can say enough how big of a disappointment it would be going to the bye. And the whole entire all next week, I'm already thinking, like, what am I gonna talk about next week? 5 days, 90 minutes a day with no Eagles game on the horizon. Probably gonna try to find some guests to come on the show, bring some different perspectives to the show. Maybe I'll shorten up a show and let myself sleep an extra 20 minutes in the morning. Um, but going into the bye week with a win for us content creators, us fans, and the team is massively important. The juju that this team will have, good or bad, based off of this game. You have to get the win for the bye week. It is so important. You know, all week long, the players will hear all the fans criticizing this team for losing a game at home. That negative energy and juju starts floating around the NovaCare complex. With I know it would only be their second loss, and they would still be in first place in the division. But that negative feeling will be so massive, and it's important that you don't let that creep in. And how do you do that? You go out there and beat your division rivals at home on a prime time 425 Sunday game. Dak is a hell of a quarterback. I think everyone puts him down, but I understand why Dak is the new age McNabb. I think that's a fair comparison. The new age McNabb, all the talent in the world, but can never get it done. Yeah, I mean, Dak Prescott. I've never been shy about saying this. When he was in the draft, that was the Nick Foles draft, I believe. I wanted the Eagles to draft Dak Prescott. I liked him coming out of Mississippi State. I compared him to Donovan McNabb, Dante Culpepper, guys like that. Um, I truly firmly believe if Dak went to a different organization, his career would have been perceived differently, and his success rate might have changed a little bit. Dallas is just a terrible. I don't want to say a terrible organization. I think that's a little unfair. The way the organization is run with Jerry Jones at the helm, they're never going to be overly successful because he's always going to make the wrong moves on a regular basis on what it takes to win. He needs to go out and hire a real GM to have a chance. But Dak is actually a really damn good quarterback. And he hasn't had the opportunity to really. I really truly believe if they would have moved on, like I know early in the year when they lost a couple games, people were calling for Trey Lance in Dallas already. I really firmly believe that if Dak moved on at this point of his career, he's young enough still that he would have more success elsewhere in a better run organization, not a more talented organization, because there is a lot of talent on Dallas. It's just not a well run organization, period, at all. Dak and McNabb have the same exact traits. That's why we as Eagles fans hate him. We see a lot of McNabb in him, and we hate it. Look, I love Donovan McNabb. I'm a Donovan McNabb guy. You're never going to hear me talk overly bad about Donovan McNabb, the player. Don McNabb, post-playing career, sure, I'll criticize him and some of his takes for sure. There's no doubt about that. But Don McNabb, you're not. I still got my Don McNabb jersey. It always hangs right next to me, right here. I don't do it on screen because you guys would criticize me for hanging a McNabb jersey in the background. But I'm a Don McNabb guy, and I think Don McNabb with this current Eagle, if you take Don McNabb, the player, and put him in an organization run the way the Eagles are run now, would have had more success maybe. He wouldn't have been able he didn't have that Mamba mentality that Jalen Hurts did. I think Dak has a little bit more Mamba. I mean, I'm not comparing him at all, but he's got a little bit more Mamba mentality than Donovan did. I do. Problem is, he just doesn't have enough talent on the team around him or a well-run organization to do that. Marshawn saying I sided with number 5 over To, but he was just as wrong as To was. Yeah, I know looking back, Marshawn, at this, years down, what was that, like 2005, 15 years ago or whatever that happened? I was on side of Donovan as well. I did not like the drama of To in the driveway doing sit-ups. et cetera, et cetera. Um, Now looking back on it, T.O. was partially in the right in what he was looking for, probably. Donovan was probably in the wrong a little bit too. Joe Banner, Andy Reid, they were in the wrong. There was a lot of people wrong in this situation. It could have been handled so much better. And if they would have found a way to make it work out better, I think they could have fixed that. And I think the history of the Eagles changes. I think in '05 we could have won the Super Bowl, if they would have figured it out. They could have. I'm not bad mouthing him. I'm saying the last thing you want to see as an Eagles fan is Dallas is a see a Dallas with a McNabb. I'm not saying you're bad mouthing him. We're just battling a little bit on the finer points of this. Peanut Banner held back McNabb's success, kind of like Jerry Jones is holding back Dak Prescott's success to an extent. Now, Joe Banner did set certain philosophies in place when he was in charge of this Eagles team that are still held true today. He might have held us back. He might not have understood the importance of having weapons on offense and stuff like that. But the crux of this team right now, this Eagles team that Howie Roseman has built over the last 5 to 10 years, has been based on one of Joe Banner's core philosophies. That's build the defense and offensive line first, and then worry about everything else second. A lot of those Don McNabb teams had great offensive lines. I mean, Trey Thomas, John Runyon, Jason Peters. We had those. We had good. We didn't have Jason Kelsey centers, but we had, you know, decent centers always. Hank Fraley. What was the other guy? Jamal Jackson. The defensive line has always been really, really strong. Build interior out. He just didn't believe in wide receivers, Joe Banner, and that was where he fell short. Didn't believe in that part of the game. Yeah, well, McNabb and his chunky soup commercials didn't help him either. Yeah, I hate when quarterbacks have minimal success and start doing it like Baker Mayfield. His commercials were more successful than he was as an actual quarterback. But that's another topic for another day. Um, how many bullets have dodged the Eagles? Yeah, Josh McDaniels, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Marcus Mariota, Jimmy Garoppolo was one that people were calling for Jimmy Garoppolo when we missed out on Wilson and Watson. We have dodged so many bullets. So many bullets, Marshawn. The Josh McDaniels situation and the Raiders. I mean, I feel bad for Devontae Adams being stuck there. He went to play with his friend, and his friend left, and he's stuck in a train wreck. I can't believe he didn't get traded. That organization, they've already said they're benching Jimmy Garoppolo and going with their rookie quarterback. It's only week 8, and they're only 3-5, but disaster in LA. Russell Wilson looks washed. Deshaun Watson is an a-hole of a person, but also a quarterback that just doesn't care. Marcus Mariota, the draft pick thing. Oh, oh, could you imagine? That would have been a disaster beyond disaster right there. Obviously, um, without a doubt there. But yeah, we've dodged a lot of bullets. We really have. And that comes from, we'll criticize Joe Banner, but Howie Roseman's core philosophies. I mean, hell, even Andy Reid, hiring Andy Reid was not the popular decision at that moment. He was an unknown quarterback coach from Green Bay. He brought in Doug Peterson to kind of be that bridge to Donovan. You know, Joe Banner's philosophies of building the line and building the trenches and building the core of this team still ring true today and is why we are so successful. Phil, can I get you on my show one day? Absolutely. You send me a DM on Twitter. I will come on your show anytime as long as it works with the pizza shop schedule. Without a doubt, I would love to come on, man. I try to go on at least one or two other shows a week and help other people out. Absolutely. You let me know. You just got to hit me up with a DM. Josh McDaniels is only part of the problem. That whole Raiders front office is a crapshoot. I mean, how many Davis? How many owners? Or how many owners? How many coaches have they had now? I think I saw 12 or 13 coaches in the last 20 years. 8 of them since the Mark Davis or whatever the son took over from his father. I mean, that was they're just there's a guy on Twitter, Raider Frank, that we interact all the time. He's a Flyers fan, a Philly. He's a Philly fan, but he's a Raiders fan too. And man, I feel bad for him. And I see him complain a lot lately about the Raiders. Man, it's got to suck to be a Raiders fan, man. Dougie P. hire was labeled the worst hire at the time too. Absolutely, Marshawn. You know, the core philosophies of going beyond, the offensive line and defensive line is to find a head coach that will that will fall not fall in line. That's the wrong word. That will build a good team chemistry, build a good locker room, a good culture. You look at it, the worst coach of the last couple decades has been the Chip Kelly hire. I mean, he won games, but he just didn't fall in line with the culture and philosophies of this team. And that was the time when Howie Roseman lost his control of the team. That was the one time Jeffrey Lurie deviated from his philosophies. But Doug Peterson was a great hire after the Chip Kelly era. And there were a lot of names, bigger names, more popular names, more experienced names that were available and interviewed at that point. This point with Nick Sirianni, take McDaniels out of it. What's the dude's name in LA with the Chargers? He was, you know, in the running, and people wanted him, and he's bombed developing Justin Herbert, or maybe Justin Herbert just stinks, you know. But we've dodged so many bullets because you stick to core philosophy, and you bring in guys to coach this team that believe in those core philosophies. The Raiders owner is the problem. He's paying two head coaches. I know. Could you imagine being so bad at your job like Josh McDaniels is, getting offered a new job with a guaranteed 6-year contract, and less than a year and a half into that 6-year contract, we're going to pay you, even though we're paying another guy, we're going to pay you to go away for 4.5 years. And we're going to pay another guy to do your job for you. Like, could you imagine getting paid for 4.5 years not to do your job, even after you failed? I would love to get fired from my own pizza shop and sit at home and get paid to not work at my pizza shop for the next 4.5 years. Reed was the only one that came into his interview with a game plan. 3 10-inch blinders to build a team. I don't remember the Andy Reid interview cycle. I don't remember who else was interviewed. That was a long time ago. We're talking 25 years, 25 years ago. I can't remember what I had for breakfast an hour ago. I definitely cannot remember who else was interviewed during the Andy Reid cycle. Coming home from the homegrown tree didn't hurt back then. Yeah, I mean the homegrown tree is one of the best trees. The homegrown tree is more successful than the Bill Belichick tree, which is a great segue. I wanted to bring up the rumor, the joke. I don't know if it was a real rumor or not, but I saw some Washington podcast or content creators putting out that they hear rumors that the Washington Commanders are going to try to trade for Bill Belichick. Is there anything more laughable than that? Is there? I mean, Bill Belichick is proving that he can't just take any quarterback and turn him into Tom Brady. Obviously, with Mac Jones, and their attachment to Mac Jones is the downfall of Bill Belichick right now. Just one honk today, guys. Not two. But that Mike Holmgren tree is great. Sirianni's hire wasn't the best as per the media, especially with him botching the scripted press intro. Look, I didn't give him any crap for that presser. I was one of the few that was fine with the presser because I knew Doug Peterson's presser wasn't great his first day. Andy Reid's presser the first day was not great. These guys that are assistants or assistants to assistants or coordinators, they're not used to being on the mic as much as a head coach is. And they're definitely not used to the Philadelphia media pounding them with questions. So I didn't get upset about that. And I was okay with the Sirianni hire. I remember I was walking my dogs. My phone started blowing up. We hired a coach. I came in here. It was my first network I was still with, the AAT Sports Network. And I said, I went live immediately. I'm like, I don't know anything about this guy. I was literally Google searching information on Nick Sirianni as I was live. I was like, let's give the guy the benefit of the doubt. Let's give this Howie Roseman philosophy and Jeffrey Lurie philosophy on picking coaches a shot. Like, let's not worry about it. The Gus bus. I was 1,000% on the Gus bus, and I knew Gus Bradley was not going to be a good head coach. Something I knew about it, but you know what? I'm a defensive guy. I'd rather win 18-10 than 45-40. I love defense. I love hard hitting football. I come from the Jim Johnson era. I come from the Buddy Ryan era. I'm old. And I know defensive coaches just normally don't succeed in the NFL anymore. But I still wanted Gus Bradley. And he bombed so bad. And I think he's bombed elsewhere as a defensive coordinator since then. I forget where he's at now, but I think he's doing okay right now. But yeah, I was 1,000%. pushing so hard for the Gus Bus. I was hashtagging. I had like 2 followers, but I was hashtagging Gus Bus nonstop. I remember Eagles fans when we hired Nick. Even I was like, "Who is this Nick guy?" That's all I said. Who's Nick Sirianni? He is the highest winning coach in the NFL right now with a quarterback who's only lost 3 games in 4 years. Yeah, I mean, look, Nick Sirianni was the right hire. There is no doubt about it that Nick Sirianni was the right hire, and hopefully he's here for a very long time. Belichick's tree is weak, growth from strong roots. Um, yeah, I mean, some of the guys, Josh McDaniels, Bill O'Brien, some of the guys that have gone on to be from his head coach, Matt Patricia, guys that were coordinators for him, gone on to other teams and just completely bombed, which just goes to show how damn great Tom Brady is, will ever be. I mean, like, he literally, like, you could have argued for the first year or two after Brady left New England, well, we got to give them time to figure it out. But it's been a few years now. And Bill Belichick and the Patriots and all his coordinators completely stunk everywhere else without Tom Brady. Was Jones even a Belichick choice? I don't know. I don't know if he was. Um, Not sure. But Flowers, like the Flowers comment, riled a lot of people up. I know I used to call T-shirt gate a thing, but Nick Sirianni's won me over. Keeps his team level-headed. He's helped so much immensely with the growth of Jalen Hurts. I mean, does Nick Sirianni get any of the credit? Everyone gives Brian Johnson and Shane Steichen all the credit for Jalen Hurts' success. How come Nick Sirianni gets zero of that credit? Because Nick Sirianni's ability to keep this team level-headed and their head in the game at all points and time and in the season, the distractions are minimal at most. I think Jalen. I don't think Nick Sirianni gets enough credit. Have you seen what Bill has done since Tom left? The last thing I'm doing is hiring Bill. We're not talking about hiring Bill. We're talking about Washington's considering trading the draft picks to bring him in. Rumors have already circulated that what's his name is going to move on from Bill Belichick soon. But before he's going to fire Bill Belichick, he might get a team to give him draft picks for his head coach that he doesn't want. Robert Kraft. I don't know why I couldn't think of Robert Kraft's name. Crazy. I love how Howie doesn't hire coaches because of their past success. He always is looking for new blood. It's not just looking for new blood. It's looking at coaches that believe the same philosophy as he does. It's looking at the person, not the coach. Can we interact? And I'm going to say this, you're going to say that. Can we not disagree, but have discussions on the best path forward for this team? Can we be on the same page? Can you take these pieces and mold them? Can you keep the culture that we want going in the right direction? There's so much into it there. It's not just the new blood, it's the philosophies of the new blood. I was it. Well, then you're really much older than me. I mean, I know the Dick Vermeil era. I mean, I was born in 1980. I'll be 43 soon. But that's it. Like I wasn't around for the Dick Vermeil era. Sirianni went from Flowers to being the panderer and chief. Look, pandering Nick Sirianni, you don't see, but you've also seen Nick Sirianni grow as a coach. Think about it. 2 years ago, he wore a beat Dallas shirt, to press conference. You don't see that anymore. Well, you still see some shirts, but not bold ones like that. Um, that's just what it is. Phil, I have that same you have the snowman coffee mug. I don't know where this came from. This was my wife's when I moved in with her. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I just love it because it's a very large size and I could fit a lot of coffee for the show. Although we're about halfway through the cup of coffee, we still got 35 minutes to go here. So I don't know if that coffee cup's going to make it through the day or make it through the show. Speaking about Patricia, what is he even doing here? Interesting thing to bring up, and I'm writing this down because this is something that deserves a tweet. This deserves more time. Patricia, secondary. I got to write this down. Notice our secondary is not as good as it was last year. Matt Patricia was brought in. Now we haven't heard his name much. He's the cornerbacks coach or secondary coach or whatever. Our secondary struggled this year. We're giving up a lot of passing yards per game. I wonder if there's any correlation to that. I mean, Sean Desai is getting all the credit for the defense, but Matt Patricia is getting no blame for the bad secondary. And but on the flip side, Eli Ricks is starting to develop. I'm trying to think this comment duck out on the fly because I haven't thought about. I kind of almost to an extent, Matt Patricia being part of the coaching staff is so far buried in the back of my head. Haven't thought about it. So I'm trying to think about this on the fly. Eli Ricks is developing. Reed Blankenship's kind of leveled out. Slay and Bradbury, are they regressing? Or are they just getting older? How much of it is Matt Patricia's fault? Is any of it Matt Patricia's fault that no one's getting turnovers? The sacks have gone down. I don't know. That's interesting. I got to think about this one, Duck. And I'll put it out on social media. Maybe I'll bring this back up tomorrow. Because Sirianni has not made his influence on Hurts a big deal. That's interesting. And again, this is another thing that I got to write down. Sirianni growth. I'm just going to write some Hurts. I'm just going to write that down. I hope I understand my notes after the show. I love taking notes during shows to keep my mind on these topics. I think it's an interesting topic to dive into. I really do. That he doesn't get any of the credit whatsoever. But that's what makes Nick Sirianni such a great coach. He doesn't make it he doesn't make anything about himself. His philosophy of it's team first, individual second. It goes in line with Howie Roseman and his philosophy, but it also, puts the limelight on the players. Now, when the going gets tough, he takes all the blame. But when the going's going good, he lets the players enjoy and bask in their glory. And I think it's such an underrated trait of Nick Sirianni. No, I know that's what I mean. If I'm Washington, I'm not doing it. Well, Washington is another disaster of an organization. And Josh Harris now being the owner there, we know from Philly that he has no problem making big, bold moves, bringing in Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey, trading for James Harden, stepping in to get rid of James Harden. Josh Harris is a bold move guy. Josh Harris is a making money businessman. Josh Harris does not care about titles as much as people think he does. Josh Harris is going to do what sells tickets. Bringing in Bill Belichick into Washington sells tickets, sells merchandise, sells advertising dollars. So you can up the charge for whoever's name's on the outside of the building. You could probably get people to give you money to build a new stadium. So that's the thing. Like Josh Harris is going to build a sort of winner in Washington, but Josh Harris will not build a winner in Washington because he just cares about money. Dick Vermeil and Jaws were my first coach and quarterback combo. My first coach quarterback combo that I remember watching, I know I watched before this, was Randall and Andy Reid. But it was funny. It came up on another conversation on Twitter the other day, first sports memories. And I remember my first sports memory was going to a Phillies game in 1986. But my first Eagles memory was really like the late 80s, like 87, 88, or Buddy Ryan and Randall Cunningham. That was my first real memories of football. So, because I was baseball first, then I kind of eased into football as I got a little bit older. Look, I'm sorry, man, but I feel if Patricia wasn't here, our D wouldn't have been as solid this year. With all the pieces moving on D because of injuries, I feel Matt has really helped our D coordinator a lot. That's interesting. That's very interesting because I don't think we've talked about him really much of any this year since he's kept his head, out of the limelight. He's kept the drama with him and Darius Slay off the board. It's really interesting. And I'd love to know more people's opinions on this because, Sean Desai's getting the credit. We opened the show saying, is he getting too much credit? I don't know. It's interesting. What's up, K1? You're very late to the show. I called you out earlier in the show. I mentioned football, baseball, and basketball, and you weren't here to call me out on it. And I said without a shadow of a doubt, you weren't here to call me out on it. Reality check. He was a crap head coach in Detroit with good tools and a crap offensive coordinator. So I don't think he knows football as well as he's being advertised. He was definitely a crap head coach and an asshole, pardon the French, of a head coach. As a defensive coordinator, how much of it was with working with Bill Belichick? How much of it was not? I don't know. I don't know. I think you guys are bringing up some excellent points of discussion. You need to save some of these excellent points for the bye week when we have shows that I don't know what I'm going to talk about on. I have criticized Jalen for his cliches, but this man really lives that growth lessons to be learned life. Down 14-3, and he doesn't flinch even after fumbling the tush push. Yeah, and I think it's one thing to have those cliches and not live the life. It's another thing to live the life. And I'll go back to the ESPN feature article on him before the season started, the ESPN magazine, and how I was at first. The first time I read it, I was worried. I'm like, does he live too much about football? But he's literally like Tom Brady in the sense it's football 24/7. No drama outside of football. Look, hell, if he wasn't at an award show recently, with his girl, would you even know he had a girlfriend? You know what I mean? Like, you don't know anything about him because all he is football. Laser focused. He knows what his goals are. And I love it. It's so important. It's so important to have a guy like Jalen Hurts leading your team. Some coaches are meant to be head coaches and some are just meant to be coordinators. And Matt is just a good coordinator and not a head coach. You might say the same thing about Josh McDaniels, Bill O'Brien. Might be just the case of that entire Bill Belichick coaching tree. And certain people are meant to be head coaches. Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni are meant to be head coaches. They are. And I love it. And we got them here in Philly. Washington is under new ownership, so they are getting their feet under them. I think Rivera gets another season. You think he gets another season? I think he's gone before the end of the season. I think Josh Harris is going to bring in his type of guy. And they're getting their ownership is getting their feet under them, but we know far too well what Josh Harris is here with the Sixers and with the Devils. He hasn't had a winner in any of his teams yet. I don't know. I'm not buying Josh Harris as a football owner, whether it'll bring success. Has Patricia been successful anywhere other than New England with Belichick and Brady? Has anybody been successful leaving Bill Belichick and Tom Brady? That's my counter to that, Duck. Has anyone been successful anywhere without those two guys? So I don't know. Has Bill Belichick been successful without Tom Brady? Look, Tampa Bay was successful with Tom Brady in his 40s. Duck, he's only been a coordinator in New England. Of course, he sucked everywhere else. He was a head coach. Yeah, I think he was only a head coach once. It's not like he got two chances yet. Like Josh McDaniels has had multiple chances to fail. And his only success has been a coordinator. So yeah. Plus, Pat isn't an offense. Yeah, it was just I'm sure there was just a slight little edit error there. You can't edit these comments. He didn't get a chance as defensive coordinator anywhere when he was let go in New England. He was let go early in the coaching cycle. Interesting. Jalen hated that the media got a hold of his lock screen photo. He did. I think that was the thing that pissed off Jalen Hurts more than anything. I do not think he wanted anybody knowing that. I don't think he wanted anybody seeing that. But that's it. Good morning, Eric. We'll get back to comments in a second. Hard reset time here. It's 9:03. I'm 3 minutes late on my hard reset here. You guys are watching Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel. Please like and share and subscribe to this show, video, channel. We got 14 likes on YouTube, not good enough. 5 on Facebook, not good enough. Do all that work for me. Please help me out. Continue to grow this show. Like, shares, and retweets and follows. It's free to do. It does not cost you a thing. So please, I greatly appreciate that. I am Phil Stiefel, your host. We're talking Eagles. Dallas sucks week. We're talking about how important this game really is. We've gotten off the topic a little, which is great. I love when we get off topic a little bit. But, it's still all pointing back to the same topic, which is this is so important of a game on Sunday. Where are we here now in the comments? Matt's only bad years were two, where two has a head coach and one is offensive coordinator. He's not a head coach. He's not enough. Yeah, I think we understand that he meant DC, but yeah. Salute to Phil the Great. I'm not the great. I'm just the average and the mighty core 12. Talking to Duck. Sorry. No, it's okay. I got you. No, you guys can have your battles. I'm still putting your comments. As long as we keep it professional in the comments, that's all that matters to me. Just keep it professional. We had a week or so ago 2 people battling pretty heated that I'm like, guys, we might have to. I think somebody was going after K1 in the comments. I'm like, let's keep it professional. That's all. Keep it friendly because that's what this is. This is a positive show. We have to agree. Yeah, exactly. We have to disagree. But I am going to put out a tweet about Matt Patricia later in the day. and see what people really think about him. Um, exactly. We dem birds. We dem birds. That's right. Yo, Eric, why doesn't Phil go off on you coming in late? I do go off on him sometimes. Um, Eric's been around a little longer than you, K1. Just gonna say, Eric's been commenting a little longer my tenure than you, but we'll just leave it at that. Um, we're like-minded individuals, 80s babies. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Almost a 70s baby, but an 80s baby. Yeah, exactly. Trying to milk the end of this coffee here for the last 25 minutes of this show here. Um, some other odds and ends with this Eagles team. And it's the injury report. And we've talked about it a little bit this week. We've dabbled on the topic. Cam Jurgens did practice very limitedly, but he did practice yesterday. And I think that's a massive, massive thing. Very important that he practiced. Jalen Carter was a full participant in practice. And I think that was massive as well. Because this is I saw some people talking about let these injured players get one more week of rest because then you've got the bye that gives them 2 weeks of rest. But the fact that they're not pushing, but letting these guys come back immediately as soon as they're ready is showing how much the Eagles sort of agree with my philosophy that this is such an important game and a must-win game against Dallas. Because if Jurgens was on the fence of being ready to play or not, and you have the bye week next week, and it wasn't an important game, every game's important, but not as big of a game as it is Dallas, you might have pushed off Cam Jurgens. If Jalen Carter has a bad back to an extent, and they wanted to rest him, if it was we were playing the Giants or the Cardinals this week, maybe they rest him. But it's Dallas, and it's so important in the division, in the standings, in the win-loss. There was so much things, momentum. I think the two-part, like, there's a lot of names on the injury report, full, limited, did not practice at all, whatever. But Jurgens and Carter are the two key names to me. I think what they're doing at practice this week is showing that the Eagles really, really, truly do see the importance of this game. Mad respect. I have mad respect for everybody that, like, I know you guys say you respect me doing this every day, but I have mad respect for all of you that come into the comments every single day, talking every day with me. Then you guys are on the Liam show in the afternoon, depending on when he goes live, when he forgets. Which now that we got everybody in the comment section, we'll catch up on the comments in a section. Well, let me catch up on the comments. I got to call Liam out. I'll do it in a second though. Josh Harris should hire Sam Hinkie. Yes. um, yeah, exactly. Phil To Phil Tovin clearly has his favorites. Yes, I have my favorites. I don't play favorites. I don't. The one thing about Patricia is that he's here to learn to be a coach in something other than Belichick. I think that's an interesting way of looking at it. He's learning to be a better coach, coordinator, all that kind of stuff. It's all respectful, and that's all that I keep it. I love respectful conversation, respectful debates, honest debates. Jalen Carter playing is super important. He is a game changer. Absolutely game changer. Carter needs the reps anyway. He needs to see good O-line to transition his game in the NFL. Yeah, Jalen Carter needs everything, but we need him and just as much. Marshawn Lynch, you saw the twinkle in Phil's eye when he responded to K1. Marshawn's like a real OG because Marshawn was watching me on my previous network before I came over to this network. Changed the time on the. That's not why I'm calling him out, Duck. Before we get back to the comments here, I'll catch up with. I know reality check is the next one. I've got to pull up. I don't even have it set up, but I got a picture I got to share with you guys here. Liam put one of my comments up on the screen. Okay, yesterday during his show, and immediately as doing it, did this. And I got to ask the Core 12 and everybody watching right now, did Liam purposely give me this subtle bird? I think Liam was flicking me the bird here. And I don't understand why. Like, seriously. Was this intentional or not? And if you think it was intentional, please, when he goes live tomorrow, 5, 6, 4, whenever he forgets what time it is, please call him out for this. That is the ultimate subliminal. He is jealous of the morning show and the Core 12. Without a doubt. I think K1, I think you can agree that this is a perfect opportunity to say, without a shadow of a doubt, it was an intentional, subtle, little message to me. On a side note, I am probably looking for a new network tomorrow. They're calling him out for this. But yes, definitely intentional, right, guys? Back me up on this, and please go, go onto his show tomorrow night and call him out for this. Um, yes, I think it was intentional. Um, totally. That is a violation, bro. It totally is a violation. Well, that was totally subliminal, but totally real. I think he meant to do that. Um, yeah, I think you all need to go to his show tomorrow night, 5, 6, whenever he decides to go live. Call him out for flicking me off on his show. I saw it live when it happened, and I rewound the show to get a screenshot of it. That's how much it was, and I sent it to him, and he's like, "Nah, I didn't do it." I'm like, "I got proof that you did it. I got proof." There's some people that think it's funny. Some people think he did it purposely. Some people love that he did it. I don't know. If I told you Slade, Bradbury, and Maddox won't be here next year, and Rodgers, Johnson, and Ricks will be our cornerbacks next year for Week 1, would you say I'm crazy? Yes, I would say you're crazy. Reality check. Reason being, because I don't know the full details of the Slade Bradbury contracts right now. I definitely see them moving on from Avonte Maddox. Slade and Bradbury Bradbury was given a 3-year deal in the offseason, I believe, and Darius Slay got a 2-year extension. So I don't know what the cap hits would be if you moved on from all three of them. So I highly doubt that. But saying that Maddox won't be here, you're not crazy. I'm saying maybe they move on from one of Slay or Bradbury if they find a way to do it. I, I could see it maybe. They've invested a lot in young cornerbacks, but on the flip side, they haven't developed any of these young cornerbacks fully yet. Not trying to go too far ahead yet, but um, look, I don't like to think about next year till this year's over, but you know, I got to jump all the way to the bottom of comments eventually here. I see one coming in that I got to do, but let's catch up here. Man, is Harris rehired Sam Hinkie and Bede will retire with 2 rings? Yeah, maybe. Or we get the middle child treatment. Look, I'm not the middle child. I'm like the second of 5, so sort of the middle child treatment. I get it. We should go on and harass him, Phil. Peanut. He goes live. Normally it's 6 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But like yesterday, he forgot what time it was and went live like an hour plus early. But yes, if you turn notifications on the Philadelphia Sports Network Facebook or YouTube page, you'll get that little ding that he's live and you can call him out for it. You could definitely call him out for it. Civil War, Core 12 versus Chap 12. Does he have his own Chap 12? I gotta know. He's English. He's British. Of course, it was on purpose. Absolutely. They don't do anything accidentally. But it was funny. Doesn't want to lose you. He speaks. No, I know. I'm just joking with Liam. Me and him had a nice, funny back and forth privately on this one. I love Liam, and I appreciate Liam giving me the opportunity to be a part of Philadelphia Sports Network. No doubt about it. It was just a lot of fun back and forth on that one there. But it would make my day if I get a DM from him after his show on Friday. Dude, your people came at me for it. That would be even better. Uh, nah, his thumb was out. You're good. Oh, so so when he did it, he stuck his thumb out, kind of like a pinky out, so it was okay. Gotcha, gotcha. I know he was just itching his nose. But yeah, London man voice, taking other man's food. I love this, Ezekiel. Let's go, Birds. We have to bully them on Sunday, period. And yes, we do. Because again, like I said, it is an imperative win on Sunday. We cannot lose this game on Sunday. I'm not saying we won't win this game, but we cannot lose this game. This is the arc of our we're at the peak of our season here. The arc. We're at the top of that arc. Does the season keep going upward? A lost Sunday could start a downward spiral this season. It could. I don't think it would. I think Jalen Hurts would never let us lose long losing streaks, but really, really important part of the season. And bullying them is important. Let's take the last bit of energy they have and let's crush it. Check. I think Slay might be here, but Bradbury might be gone. Maddox might be here. I would have to look, Duck, and reality check at their contracts, and what the dead cap hits are and all that stuff. I don't know. Um, Reality check, not crazy though. It's not crazy. Looks like you're still in Cancun. I don't have any tan left. I got long sleeve shirts on. Yeah, no. I looked out my window this morning. I saw frost on my windshield. I saw frost on my outdoor dining table on my deck. This is definitely not Cancun weather. It's not even going to hit 50 today, and I hate the cold. 100%. Nothing I hate more in life than cold weather. So I am not happy about today. Harris should rehire Hinkie to be GM of the Washington Commanders so they could be terrible for 5 years. That's 2 easy wins on the schedule. Yeah, you know what? Sam Hinkie doesn't have to know anything about football. He knows money and he knows asset management. I wonder what Sam Hinkie does for a living right now. I really do. Like he hasn't been in the NBA again, at all since the Sixers. I haven't heard of him being. He's got to be working for some firm, some consulting firm somewhere, telling them how to. He's probably fixing other companies in other fields. Kind of. It's more like five. You got to slap him with the glove and challenge him to a trivia duel live. I actually got a great idea for that. And you know what? I forgot all about this. I actually brought this up 3 years ago with a crew I used to work with that you know very well, and we never took off with it. Then I brought it up with my last crew um, at the DSM, and it didn't take off there because there's a lot of work involved in it. But I got an idea. Um, I'm writing this one down really big. Um, ooh, I forgot all about that. We're gonna do this. I got something. I got something that now we're gonna put into work. Finally turned on the heat in the house this morning. I turned the heat on last night. I disconnected the hose from the spigot out in the driveway. I took the window. We have central air, but it doesn't work in our bedroom really well with the dog. So I have a window unit in the bedroom for extra. I took that out of the window so I could seal up my windows. I hate the cold. Last night, this tonight when I get home, I'll probably turn the fireplace on. More like can't. Gotcha. Can't lose this game. Oh, can't coon. Yeah. Um, hey, PSN does a pretty fun NFL draft show. You could do any challenge on there. Yeah, the draft show. Man, you guys came out for the draft show. There was like 900 views of the draft show live. It was great. I need those kind of viewerships for the morning show. I know the morning show, it's tough to get the big views on because there's a lot of big morning shows with a lot more followers, and there's a lot less people tuning into YouTube at 8 a.m. in the morning. But I love each and every one of you, whether it's 5 of you watching or 50 of you. Good morning, John. How you doing? 28 degrees here and 28 degrees in Alabama. Um, it was 80 like last week, and yeah, it's cold. Luckily, I have a Halloween party to go to on Saturday night, and it'll be like 60 on Saturday. So that's I can't give you the idea. No, no, no. Let it marinate for you guys. Let's tease. I got an idea, um, but let it breathe for a few minutes. Let it breathe. Mr. Sandman, that narrative is fire. Hinkie set the Sixers up for success. Yeah, I do want to touch on Daryl Morey for 1 second here. I don't want to get into the James Harden situation again or any of that. But yesterday I was listening to Daryl Morey with the player introductions and stuff like that. Um, and I think he handled the press conference really well yesterday. And he said, you know what? Basically, in a nutshell, I'm summarizing what he said. The James Harden, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, at James Harden's Hall of Fame induction, all this will be water under the bridge. All this will be fine. He handled it really well. And I'm not a Daryl Morey fan, but I want to give Daryl Morey credit for yesterday making it about the new players, making it about the Sixers, not digging any more graves. James Harden's making comments that I'll never talk to him again, whatever. James Harden's taking the low road, Daryl Morey taking the high road, especially considering that there are rumors that he didn't approve this deal. Ownership went over his head. So I want to give Daryl Morey just a smidge of benefit of the doubt and credit for taking the high road in this situation. Um, if he's in Cancun, please tell me who shipped it. House from there for vacation. I want to use that. Yeah, exactly. I wish I could ship my house to Cancun. Actually, no, I don't even want this house. Never mind. Do you have an opinion on why Penny is not playing any or getting any playing time, Ezekiel? Yeah, I've touched on it a lot. Uh, Rashad Penny was brought in here to be the running back, and then on draft night, DeAndre Swift became available, and Howie Roseman's like, shit, I could make an even better addition than Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny is being kept in case Swift goes down, or there's going to come a time when all these guys get healthy and you need a roster spot. Penny might be that roster spot that gets kicked to the curb. For now, he's being kept for depth. He's not as good as Penny or Gainwell. Well, maybe he's better than Gainwell. I don't know. So that's it. I mean, he was brought in to be the guy, but then a better guy was available, and that better guy has shown that he's better. So he got bumped down the ladder, and he might be available and used at some point, or he might get cut. But I'm not worried about it that much. Did you Terrence Mann's face when Harden was that Terrence Mann? I saw somebody's face. I didn't know who it is. Terrence Mann was the make or break of this deal, but I don't even know what he looks like or who he is. I saw the awkward embrace between Westbrook, Brody, and Harden there. But the other guy was like, "Who are you? Yeah, no." PSN trivia dance off. Well, I don't know about dance off, or just straight PSN trivia, but I had an idea, and I'm gonna put it out there with the PSN crew later today, and we'll go at this. We'll try to plan this. Major, he's either being kept in reserve or he's washed. I think K1. I think both of that. He could just be washed. He really didn't show anything in preseason or camp, and he's being kept in reserve in case Swift goes down. And he's also being kept. It's a roster spot. Like, yeah. Oh, Phil, we love you too. Like Iverson's crossover. I always feel the love here in the morning show. I do. I love it. Nothing better to get my day going than coming on here and chit chatting with you idiots every single day. Um, Bro, I'm in Alaska. Don't talk to me about cold. Y'all don't even know it. I spent 9 weeks in Alaska. It was during the summertime, but it was in Alaska. So I know all about Alaska. Um, a little bit, actually, not a lot. How long after hiring Hinkie did it take the Sixers to make the playoffs again? Eagles just need 3 easy seasons. Yeah, it was a long time. It was a long time for Sam Hinkie. I watched the Clippers Lakers game last night. Harden was on the bench. So glad he's gone. Yeah, Harden was on the bench, but PJ Tucker suited right up and was out there, wasn't he? I don't know if he played well or anything, but I saw someone tweet that he suited up and played. But yet Harden still has to ramp up his activity. Forget it. I'm so over it. I'm so glad he's gone. I loved seeing Morey squirm like a pig's in a hot summer under a tough questions. I think he handled them well, though. I do. Penny looked okay in the 2 preseason games we saw him. I think they want him for later in the season. It could be. And I also think that he could be an asset in the goal line situations, red zone situations, um, going forward if they decide to use him. Personally, I'm just glad baseball season's over. And yes, look, and I just want to address one thing I did early in the show. I'll do it again to the crew that are watching now. There's a lot of Phillies fans saying, well, we could have beaten the Texas Rangers if we would have gotten to the World Series. They're not that good. They just beat a bad Diamondbacks team. Well, that bad Diamondbacks team beat the Phillies. So you can't say, hypothetically, we would have beaten the Texas Rangers. It'd be like saying that, the Eagles could have beaten if the Eagles didn't make it to the Super Bowl last year, we could have beaten the Chiefs. Well, if you don't get to the championship game, you can't say we would have beaten them. That means you came up short at an earlier round. That's my last piece of baseball advice or information until till free agency starts and that kind of stuff. The next season starts. But yeah, I wouldn't want any grown men like Russ calling me pretty tuck. Did he call him pretty tuck? I don't even know. Iverson makes a hella good weed now too. Really? You gonna hook me up with some? To anyone interested, you gonna send me some? You can send me a discreet package if you want. That's all I'll say about that. Why would we keep a roster spot if he's washed? Plus, put in Boston Scott instead of Gainwell, like Brian. Sorry, I thought it said Byron for a second. Screen names are hard to read sometimes on mine here. Brian. Yeah, I don't know if he's washed or not. I think it's a theory that people are putting out there. He might be, he might not be. He's just the back end of the rotation at this point. And that's it. He's the back end of the rotation. And Swift is doing great. Gainwell, they love. Boston Scott's that kick returner for us. So he's the 4th guy. And I think if Swift wasn't made available on draft night, Penny would be playing that Swift role. And maybe Gainwell would have a little bit more usage in the offense as well. But it just became apparent when Swift became available that there was a better option. And his contract's cheap, so if they have to move on from him eventually, they do. But he's there. There's a lot of guys that aren't getting playing time. We're not worried about them. It's just we're Rashad Penny gets the conversation because people just have this distaste for Kenny Gainwell. Like 3 or 4. We had like 3 straight years of 50-game wins. Yeah. Um, we also had seasons with 10 wins too. How long are you going to punish Penny for his missed block on that AJ touchdown? Um, was that was so long ago. Um, Summer is nothing here. You had it easy. Yeah, like, well, I was there in August and September. I forget when the cruise ships leave Alaska, like mid-September. Got there in like mid-July and was there to like mid-September. Then we repoed through the Panama Canal to the Southern Caribbean. But man, I saw 9 weeks of icebergs and I couldn't take it anymore. PJ Tucker played his topical, hard nosed game. He was good. Yeah, he doesn't do anything for me. I'll put it like this: Knicks, Kings, Lakers, and T-Wolves were trusting the process a lot longer than we were, and got none of the negative media. Look, Eric, I said it once. I'll say it 100 times. We only got negativity towards the process because we monetized the process. That is all there is to it. Uh, Nor did agents or owners conspire against them or plant people in the organization with burner phones and whatnot. Look, again, because we monetized it. Penny is in the convo because he was good when healthy, and we wondered the same thing about Holyfield. He shouted out, "What's up, pretty tuck?" You cannot make his vibes up. I'm a big Russell Westbrook guy, man. He's a pain in the ass now, but man, back when he was in his prime, dropping triple doubles every night with the OKC, dude, I wanted him in Philly, man. I won't lie. He's got that. He's not a great shooter, not a great defensive player, but man, he's a fiery leading personality. He leaves it all on the court every single game. He has no problem speaking his mind. I'm a Russell Westbrook guy. I always have been, especially in his OKC days. I have a very good friend, Grant, that lives out in that region. He's a Thunder fan. We always talked about it, you know, about his way of playing. I was always a Russell Westbrook fan. Based off of the Swift thing, why not try and trade Penny before the deadline? I think there's a plan based off of analytics to play Penny late in the season. Yeah, I mean, it very well could be. Very well could be. Did you see any running backs get traded though? Running backs don't get paid. They don't get traded. If you see running backs get traded, Saquon would have been traded. Josh Jacobs would have been traded at this point. It is what it is. Yeah, icebergs, man, is what did it, huh? Dude, 9 weeks of icebergs. I forget which town it was that our ship used to stop in all the time. We stopped in like a bunch of towns, but one was literally only 3 blocks wide and 4 blocks long. And like you can literally walk the entire town in 5 minutes, but it was just a jumping off point for dog sledding rides, helicopter rides, to icebergs. All I know is I used to go to some bar every single day I was in that town, and I would just drink myself silly. That's all I remember, man. It is. Look, we got to wrap this up. Shit. Shoot. Something like that. This show has flown by. It's already 9:28 here in the morning. So it's time for the wrap up process. 3 seasons of 50-win seasons still get that ass spanked by the Celtics. That's all I got to say there. I just looked at Yahoo Sports headline because the Eagles have the best record and they have the headline. Really? That's great. I love to see our team getting respect. And we're going to continue this conversation tomorrow. Eagles, Cowboys, how important it is. We'll go over the keys to victory. We'll get more specific about this game, how they win this must-win game, because it is a must-win still, in my opinion. So we're going to wrap it up. We got 20 likes on YouTube. Got to get that number up. 8 on Facebook. Please, it's free to like and share this show. Phil, I get triggered when people ignore the good Sam Hinkie did here. I would love someday to write an article, and I know other people have done it, but my opinion on what this Sixers organization would have been like if Sam Hinkie never got fired. What he would have done with the Markelle Fultz pick? What would he have done in some of the trade situations? What would he have done with Ben Simmons and Brett Brown and Jimmy Butt? Like, I would love to dive deep into that, in my opinion, someday. 5 takeaways as we reach halftime of a pretty weird NFL season. Yeah. Seaward, Alaska. Dude, there was nothing there. There was nothing at the port. We were there a lot in Seaward, once a week. Forget what day of the week is. It was the same day every week, man. It sucked. That's all I'll say. There was nothing to do there. Anyway, let's wrap it up, everybody. Trending in the AM right here. Write the expose. Like, I don't know, I'm not a writer, but I wouldn't mind. Hinkie was a fraud. That's one way to look at it for sure. There are definitely a lot of people, Keith, that I love. Keith's always watching. And Keith just waits for the right moment just to throw his one little line in there. And I love you, Keith, for it. And I appreciate your support, my man. We got to wrap it up, though. No overtime today. Got to go. Got to go to work. If we blow out the Cowboys, Eagles are Super Bowl favorites, hand down. Or you think they already should be. Sam plan was genius, and he was going to cost us a lot of GM's jobs. Dude, literally was Howie Roseman level. It was a different level for sure. All right, wrapping it up, guys. Trending the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. Like, follow, subscribe, turn those notifications on. Be back tomorrow, 8 a.m. And don't forget to call out Liam on social media and on his show for flipping me the bird. Everybody have a great day. Beat Dallas week is wrapping up tomorrow. Go Birds.